Hey guys, so today is Saturday. I woke up at 7 a.m., came to get my brunch, and when I go home, I'm going to be solving a problem from cracking the coding interview. So I will be recording it and I will see you guys when I get back home. Hey guys, so I came back home. I'm about to pick a problem from the cracking the coding interview and start coding. So let's go. So the problem I'm solving is problem 1.3, so chapter 1, problem number 3 of cracking the coding interview. The problem is write a method to replace all spaces in a string with %20. So it's URLify. So jumping into the problem, what we want to do is, let's say we have a string that's under example, it's Mr. John Smith. So we have a string with spaces, and there are a bunch of spaces at the end as well. So what we want to do is we want to change this to Mr. %20 John %20 Smith, and then nothing at the end. So we want to transfer this string to this one, replacing the spaces with %20 except for the spaces at the very end. So I'm going to solve this problem with two different methods. The first one is creating a new string and adding to the string, so looping through the first string and then creating the new string with the %20s. So we're going to write the function, we're going to call it URLify, and for the parameters we're going to have a string and we're going to have the length. So this length is the actual length of the string. So if we have again Mr. John Smith, a bunch of spaces, the length is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is the actual length. We're not accounting for these spaces at the very end. So we're gonna start by creating a new string. So this is a string that we're returning, so we can call it result string, just S, anything. It's going to be an empty string, and we're going to be storing our modified string into this. So we can calculate the length of the spaces at the very end. So again, we said I'm just going to call it Mr. John this time. We have a bunch of spaces at the end. We want to take these out. So we're going to call these end spaces. These are equal to string.length minus len, which was the actual length. So string.length is going to give us the total length, including the spaces at the end, and then len was given to us was the length of what Mr. John was. So now we're gonna start looping through our string. For looping through our string, we're gonna start from 0. We're gonna go up to string.length. So I less than string.length. I'm gonna add some spaces to look better. And then we're gonna increase I by 1. So we're looping from M, and then we're going up. So we wanna replace whenever we find, so whenever string dot or string of I at index I is a space, we want to add %20 to our string, the result string, else. So when string I is anything else, we just want to add the current character at the current index that we are at, like this. So, but if we, so let's try, and then we're gonna return s. So what do you think is gonna happen if we just try and run this function? Just think about it. URLify function, Mr. John Smith. And we're going to add a bunch of spaces at the end, and then it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 characters. So we're going to save and run the function, and as you see, we have the %20s at the very end as well, but we don't actually want to have the %20s for the empty spaces at the end. So what we're going to do is we need to add another if statement here. And what we will do is we will say if string.length, well, if I is less than string.length minus the end spaces that we calculated earlier, the parentheses. Well, what I did here was I took out the end spaces, the number of end space characters, or the end spaces from the total length, and then I said if I was less than this, and then I thought about it and I was like, I can maybe just add it in the loop, and it worked the same. So we basically loop through the string until we hit the end. If we say looping through I equals to 0 until I is less than string.length minus end spaces, so we just take out the end spaces. So yeah, let's try this function, and yep, as you see, it worked. So yeah, I had a little bit of difficulties over there. Yeah, it's the same thing if we have the if statement here. Obviously it's the same versus adding it to the for loop so that we wouldn't go. The problem was I had 13 here, but obviously this is 2 and not 13, so you have to be careful about how you define the function or how you want to print it, so we just get master, and then it all works. And then there's another method that we can use, and that's using array data structures. So let's get right into that one. I'm going to call it the same. And in this case, the input is going to be string. What we're going to do is we're going to create an array out of our string and then loop through the array. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to first of all trim the string. That means that we're going to get rid of the spaces at the end, the extra spaces at the end, or if they're at the beginning of the string, and then we're going to split it. So up to here, I'm going to call it result array. So the result array is going to be trimming the string and then splitting it. So this is going to give us a array of the original string, and then we're going to do for loop. So we're going to loop through the new array. We're going to say for I in result array, all we have to do is say if result array, for result array I, if this is equal to space, we're going to change result array I to %20. So we have our result array now, and then once we're done with the for loop, we're just gonna return it in the form of a string, and in order to do that, we just do join. And we can test our function in the same way. We're going to use Mr. John. Mr. John Smith with a bunch of spaces. We don't need the second input anymore because we used trim, so we don't need to deal with the extra spaces at the end of the array anymore. And then running the function, you see we have Mr. %20 John, and just like we needed, it's the same thing, just saying single with no spaces, so we're just gonna get Mr. So as you can see here, we use an array. Here we use an array data structure, and in the previous solution we used a string data structure. So the first chapter of the book was on arrays and strings, and it talks about hash tables. I'm waiting to get into more exciting hash table problems, but this is just what I randomly stumbled upon today, so that's why I solved this one. It's a good practice. I kind of got bored. You might have noticed throughout the problem, but hopefully in the future we'll get more exciting problems. I think it was still a good practice. You might still get this in an interview and kind of, so I think it was still a good practice. You might even have a better, more optimized solution for it. If you do, I would love to see it either in the comments, or if you can message me on LinkedIn or Instagram and we can chat about it. So yeah, that's it for this problem. I hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you guys in future videos.